We are now ready to cover the Design Center in AutoCAD. The Design Center is a wonderful way to manage, or what I call grab, content like layers, line types, text styles, dimension styles, blocks. Blocks, did you hear that? Blocks, you can actually get blocks and drawings from, and you can get them from other files and within the Design Center without actually opening the file, which I think is very handy. They also have wonderful things within the Design Center. So as you can see, I have the bedroom that we've been working with, and the only thing I added was I drew a line off to the side because I'm going to place some things hopefully on that line as if it was an elevation, like for a room. But the way that you get to Design Center is so funny. It's actually four different ways. One is, and I know you can't see me hit my keyboard, but one is to actually hit Control 2. When you do that, it brings up this dialog box. It doesn't actually say Design Center, except over here on the left. But we're going to go through exactly what all this entails. But before I do that, I'm going to show you the other three ways to actually get there. The other way you can do it is actually hit DC, which makes sense. And when you can see at my cursor, it actually says AD Center. So that's another way. If I hit Enter, it brings up the same box. That makes sense, right? So Control 2, DC, and then another way to actually get to there is to start typing AD Center, and as soon as you hit AD Center actually comes up. Notice the icon that you can see on the left. But if I click that, it brings up the same dialog box. Kind of makes sense. And then the last way, which I personally like because I use my ribbon so much, is to go to the View tab. So when I go there, it's this little icon. It's kind of hidden a little bit, but it's called Design Center. It brings up the same box. So if you do not actually see this when you use one of those four ways to get here, it could be that it didn't actually get to the Design Center within your computer. So what I want to do before I go into all the aspects of it is actually show you what it's under, just in case you actually have to get there. So it will be under your C drive on your computer. It will be under Program Files. And then within there, you go to Autodesk, and then you go to the version that you have of AutoCAD. And then I would go down even further, and I would go under Sample, because all these others are going to come up. And then under Sample, it's ENUS for English United States. And then finally, you can find Design Center. Now within Design Center, you also have all of these drawings. There are four wonderful ones that I have to admit I actually use quite frequently. One is the Home Space Planner. And notice, before I even click that, all of those files are also here on your right, which is kind of interesting because you can actually get the entire file or the entire drawing. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But the Home Space Planner, if I actually double click within there and show everything within there, I can get anything from that actual drawing. Now, I will admit that some things are basically empty. Like if I went to layers and double clicked here, it only has layer 0. Okay, so that wouldn't be very helpful. If I went under dimension styles, notice I'm doing that on the left now, and it's not actually working, so I'm going to go back to Home Space Planner. But if I went to, where was dimension styles? If I click dimension styles, it just has standard. So some of these things won't actually help you because you already have these things, but what it does have that we do not have is under blocks. So if I go into Home Space Planner and go to blocks, notice all the blocks that are within that file. Some of them could be quite handy, right? Like a queen size bed or a desk chair, a rocking chair. Most of these, as you can tell, are in the plan view, but the exercise bike is in an elevation view, and the file cabinet, a letter file cabinet, is also. But notice these others. What if I wanted a grand piano? Okay, it is a baby grand, so it's not the full thing, but who cares, right? It's a piano. The way I can get into these, I can't just click it. Now, if I do click it, it will show me the preview of it. So that's kind of nice because you can double check, oh, do I really want that? Like the wet bar. I can't see a lot of the detail, but if I click it, I can see all of the aspects that are actually there, like some glasses and a sink. Whereas if you just kind of look at it, you don't see everything. Don't know if we would use a phone desk very much anymore, right? But for the piano, if I actually do the drag and drop, so I hold down my left key button and then pull it off to the side, because it does have to go within your view, so it does have to go into the drawing. But if I let go, then it's actually there. So if I close this, I can now go to my move button and I can move it into the place that I would want it. Now, obviously, turning my ortho off, this wouldn't fit very well into this project, right? It doesn't even fit in the closet. Of course, who would want a piano in the closet? But I would have to maybe move some furniture or take some of these things out in order for it to fit. I don't think they would actually want maybe a piano in this one. But let's go back to the design center. I'm going to use it on the ribbon so you can see what I'm actually doing. But I could grab any of these. I could grab a plant and I could pull that into my project and then put it into place. So any of these are at my disposal. That is only one of the files. That's looking at the home space planner. I can go down a little further and do the house designer. Now, yes, same thing applies. Most of these won't have anything that I really need, but the blocks. When I go to blocks, I have some wonderful things in here as well, including a bathtub, a toilet, a window, a sink, a garage door, a fancy door. Ooh. So if I click that one and actually bring that one over, I'm going to close this. I could now put it in position by just going to move and grabbing maybe a corner and putting it on maybe the elevation line for the room. Let's say I'm looking at a wall that will have other things, but I want to show the fancy door. Now, your client may or may not want this fancy door, and I will say you can't get manufacturers or companies with their specific doors or products, but they still have a very nice general selection of things. So I could have now a door into my project. Going back to the design center, let's look at some other things. What about this nice faucet right here? If I click and drag this into my project, and then get this out of the way, I could actually, before I even do that, I'm going to move this arrow just slightly so I can put this into position. But I could go to my move, and I could click this, and I could say the center point, and I could move it over here, and I could maybe line it up with the middle of this sink. Now, it looks like it's not going to fit very well in this one, which is a wonderful way to find out. I could go to rotate, and then start from the center, and put ortho back on, and I could rotate it in position. It doesn't fit as well as I would have liked, but I could actually move both of these items maybe a little bit more in so that it actually will fit better. But now I have a sink and some faucets, right? Actually, I already had the sink, but I have the faucet now in there. So going back to the design center, let's look at some other features that are here. I do want to present or show you that there is a toilet, okay? So I could actually click and drag this toilet into my drawing, but I do want to show you the difference between these two toilets. Do you remember where we actually got this other toilet? If you don't, I'm going to click this up here, which is my tool palette. It brings it off to the side like normal, but this is where I actually got that toilet that is sitting in here. That's the difference between some things on the design center and the tool palette. They may look very similar. In fact, they pretty much look identical, but this one is only the plan view of that toilet. Whereas if I go to the one I got from the tool palettes over here and click it, notice I do have all of those other options because it's a dynamic block. And like I said, we are going to cover how we can actually create a dynamic block later in the semester. But I could actually change and say, you know what, I want either the plan view of a round one, or maybe I actually want the front elevation. Looks like it's upside down at the moment, but I could get any of these other options that are available instead of just the plan. And in addition to that, I can specify the angle. I could rotate it just by clicking this and rotating it around. This one does not have those options because it's not dynamic, but it's still a toilet, right? And it's basically the same one in plan view. So just keep in mind that the tool palette will not be dynamic. I'm sorry, not the tool palette. The design center will not have dynamic blocks, but it has wonderful blocks within there. So we've looked at the home space planner and we've looked at the house designer. Two more I want to show you. Kitchens. If I go to kitchens and hit the blocks for there, notice that I have a microwave, I have a range oven, I have a couple sinks, a couple of refrigerators. Now, yes, this one's in plan and this one's in elevation, but I also have some more faucets that I could select. So I have a wide variety of things that I could actually use for my kitchen, including ice and water, right? Going down a little bit further, going to landscaping. This one's kind of funny because if you go to the blocks of landscaping, yeah, it has the trees, okay? It has a shrub. Where's my shrub? There's a shrub. It has a shrub. It has a clump of trees, but it also has a hot tub. It also has a lamp. Yes, it has a picnic table. That kind of makes sense with landscaping, right? And some stepping stones and a swimming pool. But it has a car, a sedan car. So if I click that, yeah, it's a very older looking car. But, and it has that lamp I told you about, but it also has this one, the north arrow. You might recognize that from some of our other drawings we use. So even though it doesn't quite make sense that it's in landscaping, this is a wonderful way to instantly have a north arrow on your drawings. That would be kind of handy, right? So I could click and put any of these into my project. And it looks like we've already put a different kind of tree in here. But if I wanted, oh, I don't know, maybe this tree, I could click and drag this one in as well. It can't change it. It's just that tree, but it is an option for you, right? Another thing that you can do, going back to the entire design center like we had at the beginning, I could actually grab everything within the file. So I could go to kitchens and I could drag and I could drop, and I'm going to kind of zoom out because there are a lot of things in there. And then when you do the entire file, it won't just drag and drop and leave it. It will actually ask you the scale factor. So notice at my command line, it's asking to specify the X scale factor. So yes, I would want it at 1. So I'm going to hit enter. And my Y scale factor, I do want it to be 1. And rotation, I do want it to be 0. But then once it's in, notice I get everything within there. Personally, I probably wouldn't do this because when I click this, it's all one block. So I would have to still explode it to get individual pieces from it. If I just wanted the sink or just wanted the refrigerator, it would actually be easier to go into this file, like I was showing you just a second ago, and pick those individual pieces, including the faucets, okay? Especially this. If you look, this is just a pre-made kitchen like you might find in an apartment with a refrigerator, a small stove, with an oven, and a sink. You still would probably want to explode this because would you use it exactly the way it is with this tile pattern? Maybe not. So some things, they're a little weird, but notice also that they have the switch lights and an outlet. Oh, that looks like a telephone jack. I don't know if we use many of those either, do we? Okay, some may be a little outdated. But I could get the entire file or I could just pick pieces from it and instantly have it in my drawing. Another thing I could do, going back to Design Center, is notice on the left, they show my entire computer system, okay? So I showed you how to actually get to the Design Center by going through all those different folders, but I also could go to the folders within my computer and say I want to go to a past project. Say I wanted to go to a project, see all these projects for Michael Knorr. I could go under here and say, oh, remember that project where we did that Sands project? I could click that folder of the project and actually bring in maybe some blocks from it. So I could go to the blocks, and these are all the blocks that I used for that particular project. So maybe there was something specific that I wanted from that project. Or another thing is maybe that client has a specific textile. So notice I went to textiles that time, and that client has a specific textile that they like, that they created. And yes, I may not even remember what font it was, but I can literally just click this. I can bring it into my system. And even though I don't see it, it now will be listed under my textiles, going to annotate, and it's actually right here. So I could easily get a textile or a dimension style from another project and not have to recreate it. So I want you to kind of remember that if like you've already created a textile in another file or maybe one of your dimension styles and you need to bring it into this project and you know it's ready to go, right? Especially those dimension styles. They can take a while to actually go through all of the format and the parameters of that, correct? Okay, so in addition to that, another thing that I could do is I could have a system of actual blocks. So in my computer, I have what I call ornaments, and these are ornaments that I've created that are actually from the manufacturer. Actually, what I have to do is go to the file for ornaments and show all of the things within there so that I can get this menu instead of actually going to it. So notice how I went to that drawing. That didn't actually help me because it's not within that drawing. I just need that drawing. So if I actually click the Pienza and then bring it into my project, let's see if I can bring it over here onto this line. Maybe put it at the end. It's easier to actually move it once you have it in, but I'm going to hit enter, enter, enter to make sure it's one scale. And then I have this ornament ready for my client, ready to go. And I keep mentioning that I'm using the scale of 1 because all of these are full scale. So if I actually went to DI, which is distance, and I measured this door from here to here, notice it is a 7-foot door. So they bring them in to scale at 1 to 1. So you don't have to scale up or scale down to actually get the correct scale because it brings it in at the right scale. So you can use it to get something from the actual design center, or it's another way to get a block or something like a textile or dimension style from another drawing instead of using insert. Because remember, we still can use the insert command and actually insert it this way. But this is another way to get it without having the drawing open, which I think is very handy. The other thing that I wanted to show you before we end this is something that I don't actually use a lot, but it's under the Collaborate tab. And notice there is also a drawing compare. We're not going to go into detail, but you can actually compare 2 versions of the same drawing to see which one you actually want. But also under here is shared views. Like I said, I don't use this because I prefer to make a PDF of what I'm working with. But notice with shared views, if I actually click where it says learn about, you can actually share your view with somebody else who does not have AutoCAD. So it allows them to see a view of what you're working on, like they have in this example, a boat. And then they can actually comment. Oh, no, I don't want the blue one. I want the red one. And I don't want it with that kind of seat. I want a different one. So you can share things with your client or maybe somebody else without them having to have AutoCAD. Like I said, I don't usually do this way. I usually make a PDF of my drawing and then send them that, and then they can open it up on Adobe. But notice you can use this. Now you do have to actually sign up, so you have to create an account in order to use it. But it's another option, right? I almost forgot to show you. So if I actually go to the D2L, these are all blocks that you can actually download on your own computer, put them maybe in a file system of your own, and you can use any time you want. They are not from specific companies, so there's no copyright issue. They are just drawings of different beds, sofas, chairs, tables, sinks, appliances. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of them. They're all like under beds. They're just different versions of a bed. Twin, queen, different bedspreads. It's wonderful. They're all for you. Free! So I want to make sure that you take advantage of these. And by the way, you can use these on your final project as well, because you're going to be putting some furniture in your final project. So you could actually just click and immediately have a sofa or a chair or maybe a specific range. So these are at your disposal. They're a drawing file, so you do have to download them, but they are ready for you just by doing the download and putting them on your computer. So from here, we do have an assignment for the Design Center. It's going to be pretty straightforward and easy, just drag and drop. But I also want you to be aware of other things that you can use in AutoCAD. So have fun, and AutoCAD is awesome.